Thank you everybody for joining. I'm Robert, if you don't know me already. I'm the CEO and co-founder at CloudSigma. And today, if you've joined us on our previous webinar, that's great. Today, I'm going to give you just a brief intro for those that weren't on the first webinar last week. And we're really going to focus in on container environments and managed container environments and how our new PaaS offering can help you really get the most out of containers and container environments and really let you focus in on the important aspects of managing those environments and not get bogged down in some of the technical weeds, and also take advantage of some of the best tools out there for you and in a way that's going to be really quick and easy to deploy and manage, so it doesn't take up too much of your time. And I'd like to welcome also Ihor from Jelastic, who's our technology partner with the PaaS platform. He'll be actually going through the product and setting up some real environments for you today. And just to stress, it's as interactive as you want it to be. So if you have an environment or if you're looking at using containers and you have a specific aspect you want us to cover, please just submit a question. The button is at the bottom, Q&A. We'll see that, and then we'll try and endeavor to cover that during the webinar in the flow. And if we don't cover it in the flow, we will be leaving some time at the end for questions and answers as well. So feel free to do that, and feel free to also chat to other people during the webinar. That's absolutely fine as well. So you know, we have the global network. This will be available across all the locations worldwide. We're currently rolling that out. So it's live already in Geneva, Zurich, and Frankfurt. Last week when we had the webinar, it was just Geneva and Frankfurt. So every 1-2 weeks, we're adding a location as our operations teams roll it out. So it will be available globally as soon as possible. If you're using a location that doesn't have it yet, we're happy to give you free capacity in a location that does, so you can test. So you don't have to wait to get access to it if it's not already in the location you might be using. CloudSigma at a glance, we're very focused on support, on the customer experience, having responsive infrastructure, responsive teams helping our customers. Also, of course, everything, including this PaaS platform, is covered by our ISO certifications, which is very important. So you're getting out of the box compliance when you're using us. And just quickly on PaaS, the whole concept, and this couldn't be more so the case for containers, the same concept as cloud, just an extension of IaaS as an extension going into PaaS. And really what we're talking about here is allowing you to focus on higher value tasks. So you're shedding some of the server management, the scaling challenges, the patching challenges, some of the things that would be, can be quite labor intensive and, you know, frankly, more than a full-time job for somebody to keep up with. And so you're shedding some of those tasks so you can really focus on what are the aspects of the environment that I need in terms of what, you know, how do I want to scale, you know, what are the performance criteria that I have and things like this, instead of the technical kind of details of how to make that happen, the plumbing. So essentially, this is really allowing you to reduce your labor costs because you can focus your IT time or your company's time on the highest value tasks and have more time for them and less time on the sort of, you know, day-to-day management of the environments. And you'll see that when you see the product demonstration. And then, as you'll see, there are these environments, although they are our PaaS environment, they are actually not using proprietary tools. So you can migrate these workloads onto the PaaS platform, but you can also migrate them off the PaaS platform. And this is just part of the offering. And that's a critical thing. It's also part of our IaaS approach, and it's 100% part of our PaaS approach. So you can see here the PaaS is integrated into the rest of our offering. So basically, you can connect that into your IaaS environment. You can use both IaaS and PaaS. And so it's basically fully integrated into the platform. And you'll see that in the web app. So now, Ihor, I hand over to you. Take it away, and let me just stop my screen share so you can start your presentation. And just before we do that, also, let me show you the results of the poll. You should be able to see there. It's about 2/3 of you are not already using container environments, which is interesting. So hopefully you'll learn something today from the presentation. Yeah, interesting mix here in terms of the kind of motivations for moving to containers. I hope that's useful for you, Ihor, in feedback before you start the presentation. Okay, I hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So let's go and jump to the topic directly. as most of you are working with containers already, so I'm not gonna stop for long on that part. So you know that containers are not invented yesterday. So that's something that was invented more than 20 years ago. And but the big hype, the boom happened just maybe about 6 or 7 years ago only, and because of Docker, because of Kubernetes and other things that make these containers popular. But in fact, most of people, they don't know that there are also system containers. So everybody used for application containers, and everybody consider application container as container. But in fact, the history is much more longer. So a container were existing for ages, and they solved many interesting problems that we're going to discuss. So system container is a kind of also it's something between application container and VM. So it's a full-featured, let's say, system with running its own components. So it has init system, multiple processes, daemons, other things. You can enter there by SSH. You can do whatever you want. You can do very thin configuration, but in fact, that is container, and it works very similar way like Docker does. So they use the same technology on the baseline. So they use namespaces, seed groups. We use in our container offering, we use Virtuoso, a kind of OpenVZ system on steroids. So it's a kind of system container that has extra isolation, extra features that allows to run multiple workloads, especially migrated from legacy world inside containers. So let's see the more detailed difference. So if application container was primarily designed to run only one process, the system container was designed to run the full bunch of services, including services like SSHD, logrotate, cron, other things. So if you are the one who are going to migrate legacy application without designing the architecture of application, the approach works for you. So a migration to simple system container from VM is really simple. What you need, you can just use a tool to pack your file system, which is ready on your VM, and just run it inside system container. That's it. So a huge list of benefits will appear just directly after doing this. So that's the easiest way to go for the migration. Certified containers. So in our PaaS offering, we have an ability to spin up lightweight containers, also system containers, but with the predefined stacks. So for example, if we need to run just code on Java, PHP, Node.js, Ruby, or we can use certified templates. Certified templates are made by our team, and the key advantage of these certified templates is that these templates has own brain, so they have all the automation which allows to run the code, to do the scaling, to do proper configuration adjustment. So the entry point for that is the lowest one. So if you don't have any experience with containers before, this option is for you. So that's the PaaS part. Another part, if you would like to, if you're already familiar with Docker and you have your images are already packed in Docker, we can run a Docker file system inside system containers. So that's approach number next. So system containers and certified VPS is something like you can configure on your own. For example, if you choose VPS with Ubuntu or CentOS, you will get container which is very similar to TPS. So you can go there with SSH, install manually different stuff, and then you will have everything the same, but running inside container, with a huge advantage because you will be paying only for the resource consumption, but not for their pre-allocation. About that, I will tell about a bit later. So from a list of predefined certified stacks, there are also automations related, for example, to clustering. Just a second. For example, like that. So if you don't have an expertise how to do master-master or master-slave or Galera configuration for your database, that's something you can also spin up just with a mouse click. So that part of automation is something with the lowest entry point for those who don't have huge technical expertise or who don't want to waste time on administrating software like that. For those who have advanced skills, there is a Docker engine. And for example, if you already have your application pre-packed for Docker, you can spin up classical compose or simple Docker engine from your manifest, just directly from the repo, and then you will have your application up and running. In that case, this Docker engine will be running inside system containers. So system container will be like a home for small embedded containers, with again with extra elasticity and pay per use billing model, which is very unique because the money are only charged for the consumption. Another option for more advanced guys, Kubernetes. It's something really cool and powerful that's really popular nowadays. So Kubernetes was developed by Google, and then it was developed by the community, and it's really a huge machine for running microservices. This tool is we have in our container platform automation that allows to spin up Kubernetes, to do the upgrades, to do all the management, to do the scaling. For example, if you need to adjust some nodes on fly, or if you need to adjust resources. So we have this automation in place for in the platform. As you can see, these I will tell a bit later what the components of Kubernetes. So the tool is very powerful, but let's get back to the presentation. The tool is very powerful, but you have to understand that you need a technical person who will be able to manage Kubernetes, because Kubernetes is really advanced thing. And if you don't have, so two main aspects are there. So first, Kubernetes will not solve all the problems you have, and it's not ideal tool to run everything possible. So it's really good for microservices, but there are still some architectures and applications where Kubernetes is not the best option to go. Yeah, the second main point that it requires like guys who knows what to do with that. So it's like a kind of full-time job as well to manage huge Kubernetes clusters. We did everything possible to make these Kubernetes clusters inside cloud platform to be as automated as possible. So we install out of the box many components that are important to make it like operable. We can install upgrades, we can manage certificates, we can do scaling, automatic node adjustments if needed, but overall, at the end, the system needs to be managed by someone who really knows what to do. For example, if we take a look on Kubernetes cluster, which is one of those that are already installed, so it has a layer of managed nodes. So master node, which is controlling the cluster. We can have in this topology we can have 3 of them. So just to have redundancy and avoid a possible single point of failure. We have worker nodes that can be as much as we need. We can have a load balancer dedicated for spreading requests, and we can have optionally storage volume, it's a storage container that will be installed together with dynamic volume provisioner. So Kubernetes will put all its volumes to that storage. And we have HA proxy node that is responsible for dividing the request to API node. So that set of system containers is called environment. And the huge benefit of that system is that all these worker nodes are containers. So they are not VMs, but they got containers. And there is a huge separate advantage for that. So first thing, if we run inside containers, Kubernetes nodes inside containers, system containers, I mean, we don't waste a spare RAM of running a guest operating system as usually it is usually done using VMs. We don't pre-allocate memory, for example, if we need to connect multiple workers, but we don't know the right size. For example, if we need to house the application, but we don't know exactly what node what size of node should be. Should it be 16 gigs or 32 or maybe 64? So we don't know in advance how to solve that issue. If we use system containers, you can just not pre-allocate, but you can connect as many workers as needed with just limits. So let's say I need 10 workers with 16 gigs limit. And if this memory will not be used, that can be reused by other applications or containers. So there are no pre-allocation, a kind of elastic worker nodes for Kubernetes. That's a unique offering that no one has on the market. That's important. So the resource consumption can be seen in the dashboard. So once you have your cluster up and running, you can see how much resources were consumed by the system from the panel. And for example, if you need to add extra worker nodes on fly, you can do this in a way like this. There is automatic scaling button, and we can add the trigger. For example, I need to adjust another worker nodes if the general load of my cluster will be higher than 80%, and I can configure what are rules for not adding and not removal. The same for memory. As you can see directly on this panel what resource consumption is, and you can also trigger automatic node adding. So the triggers can be based on network, on disk IO, or disk bandwidth. So there are multiple ways how to adjust nodes based on resource consumption. These, as I said, as far as worker nodes are based on system containers, it's also possible to jump inside every worker node, also in master node, with help of SSH. So this usual SSH or web SSH, doesn't matter, so that there is web SSH and user SSH. You can manage all the clusters just in a way you want. So there are no limits of managing Kubernetes within this platform. So the master node is also available. You have root permissions on it. If you need to adjust settings of Kubernetes or something else, feel free to go. So why containers are important for the sizing? Because there are no pre-allocation. If we use VMs, Kubernetes in VMs, we need to set proper size. If we need to add another node and your capacity is not enough, you need add one VM, remove another VM. This is not an issue with the with system containers. So if you see that the nodes are really huge or really small, you just go to your wizard, select the working node, and just set the amount of resources, and that's it. And they will be applied on fly. So no reason to add node or to remove free nodes. So in that case, it works much better than in case of Azure and Amazon. And of course, this unique thing, pay per use. So once you are not using resources, you're not paying for the resources. So that's easy. When you, for example, enable node on any other competitive provider, you are adding like nodes in advance, and if these resources are not in use, then you still have to pay. In that case, you don't have because there were no actual consumption in that case. Yeah, add-ons. So Kubernetes can be integrated with different things. And there is a bunch of things that can be enabled on an add-ons panel. So certification manager can be responsible for issuing certificates, for example, via Let's Encrypt. let's include this by default. So you don't have to carry about your certificates. You just write properly your ingress rules, and that's it. Certificates are issued automatically. My favorite thing, GitLab integration. That add-on allows to have all your pipelines to be connected to Kubernetes from GitLab. So GitLab and Kubernetes are good friends. GitLab can spawn worker nodes on, not worker nodes, but runners on Kubernetes, and can run servers directly on Kubernetes, can do the update of application in different ways without downtime and etc. And this thing is already invented. And once you have GitLab that can be also installed from Marketplace, just directly from the same panel, if you install your GitLab from there, then you can just connect it to your Kubernetes from here. So that's it, very easy. Monitoring things. So Kubernetes solution goes directly with monitoring tools. Prometheus and Grafana. So once it's installed, it has its own dedicated monitoring solution so you can review, check what services consuming what, how they are alive, whether they are logs, and etc. Jaeger tool is used for tracing. So one of things that can be also installed during the installation. So once you have, I will just show you from the panel where the cluster is installed. So we can choose the tab from the right, Kubernetes cluster. As you can see, this base panel is like basic options for before you're installing your Kubernetes cluster. In this place, you just choose the version. We have 3 latest versions supported: topology, dev, and production. This different is the development is running one single master and a couple of workers. The production one have 3 masters, 2 HA proxy for API, and 2 worker nodes that can be also scaled. Dashboard, you just choose the dashboard, 1 of 2, and 1 of 3 ingress controllers. Ingress controller is the component which is responsible for incoming traffic. So once your traffic came to the system, and before it is distributed to your containers, it's going through the ingress controller. And we have 3 the most popular ingress controllers on your choice. Then clean installation or custom, then you can choose if you need directly from this panel to install something via Helm, or execute some commands just directly for the installation. NFS storage. So as I said, this storage node is attached automatically and dynamically will provision volumes for those applications who require their individual data volumes, physical volumes. Prometheus, Grafana, Jaeger, it's additional tools for monitoring. As I said, Jaeger is used for tracing, and the remote API access is used to manage. So you could manage your Kubernetes cluster via kubectl command line utility, or via Lens. It's also application for desktop that allows to see what's happening inside your Kubernetes cluster. So installation as simple as that. Once you click OK, you need to wait a couple of minutes and the cluster will be ready. So the fastest provisioning possible of Kubernetes cluster. About the upgrade. So the upgrade procedure of Kubernetes is also not an easy thing. So it consists of multiple steps. That's where on every step something may go wrong. So for that, we have also a dedicated add-on that allows to do the upgrade. So upgrade is absolutely automated on our side. Other popular things like environment stop scheduler allows to suspend your cluster in case if it's not in use. So good, for example, if you have some applications that are running just during night, or you need to free resources for your production needs just for the daytime, and decrease production workloads for the nighttime, and for example enable extra power for testing purposes and etc. So that can be also scaled. That is more or less all as for Kubernetes. So yeah, let's do a brief summary. So in the CloudSigma control plane, where you were previously operating your cloud resources, there is a new tab called PaaS, and that PaaS has a list of environments. Environment as a set of system containers. So that has a PaaS thing with automation for the code deployment, and that is the lowest entry point. So if you new with containers, you need to start with something. That is a proper way to go. If you need to migrate your legacy applications from VMs to containers, we recommend to use VPS. VPS, which is similar, very similar to VM, but in fact that is container, and we'll use pay-per-use approach. If you're more advanced than that and you have already a Docker prepacked, so you can try to run your Docker image in system container directly without embedded containerization. If you already have your manifest written for Docker Swarm or Docker Compose, the option number that one. So you can run inside system container, you can run Docker daemon with that can be also clustered to Swarm, of course. And option number next is Kubernetes cluster for those advanced guys who really knows what they do. But as I said, that requires extra technical knowledge. That is more or less all.
Igor, considering the images from the Docker Hub, we have a question here. So for a system container built from a Docker Hub image, how can I ensure that updates to that image on Docker Hub are automatically picked up on the system container? Is there a built-in feature to do that? I believe a simple container redeployment wouldn't achieve that. Or do I need to rely on a third-party tools like Watchtower? Thank you. So am I correct answering that we still can use container redeployment feature that we have inside Jelastic and cover it in the blog post that I mentioned in the answer?
Yeah, what we usually do to that so we have a metadata file inside. Once we build our certified image, for example, with Tomcat, we have a metadata file atc/elastic/metadata-inf, and we have versioning of the build there. So once we do redeployment from the button, then we can check if the new version is there. But again, if you redeployed your system containers, certified container, or just another Docker container with the redeploy button, make sure that you are not checking the volumes pass, because volume pass that is related to data, they are unchanged, and then can be also mounted to external NFS storage. But yeah, metadata is something like normal way to check if the file system was fetched properly or not, because obviously not checking the whole file tree, that can take ages, but just the metadata file.
That's great. Thanks for that. We have a couple more questions, which is great. Thanks, guys, for coming through with some queries for us. Another question is, I'll do this one about the register first. So this is from Johannes, and he's asking, can I configure a custom container registry that requires a login? So that's his question.
Yes. So you can spin it up directly here. If you go to the and you just type registry, you can spin it directly from here. Then you can use this registry from your application, and you can also spin up another images from that registry. But what I recommend, if you want to go with CI/CD pipelines, I recommend to install directly GitLab, and GitLab has embedded registry with all the security features enabled, because the registry you can find from Docker Hub and install usually from there, that will be very basic, very simple, and with authentication, of course, but anyway, really simple. And if you install a GitLab server, this one server has really advanced registry. Then you can manage within your projects. You can do granularly grant permissions for per users. per projects and users and etc. So that registry which is inside here is really good. Another good solution what we tried on our development pipelines was JFrog. JFrog registry is something that we also can spin up in Jelastic. So this solution is also good enough. We are really advanced with good UI, and for some cases it is free.
So considering the question that was asked, that was more connected if we can run some container registry with the login. So in short, yes, this is possible. So we can run different registries with the login credentials.
Yeah, and also when you spin up your image from here, and you will use your custom, for example, custom image from your custom registry, you can specify a registry name here and name the password.
Great. We have another question. This is more like just a kind of query about the system limitations. So we have Andre. It looks like he's already been trying the PaaS platform VPS containers in Zurich. And his question is that he sees a 200 gigabyte limit on storage for the VPS containers. And his question is it possible to increase that if needed via a support ticket or similar? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but better you confirm than me.
Yeah, you can. So that may be a limitation for the first trial period, but in fact the technology allows to create volumes, loop volumes in 4 petabyte size in maximum. So 4 petabytes is the maximum limit. If you need huge volume, you can contact support.
Hopefully he doesn't need
guys
and one VPS, but yeah, great. Okay, so that's great. So Andre, the answer is just ping our support. The live chat, you can even see it there in the bottom left of Ihor's screen. You can click the live chat and make that request, and the team will then get that lifted. Probably if we have a lot of customer requests about that, then we'll increase the default limit as well. That's not a problem. Obviously for containers, it's probably enough, but for VPS it might be different. All right, great. Actually, one thing that I had a question. I mean, I know we have customers using Rancher, and I was wondering, like, because I know that that's compatible and there's an add-on for that. So maybe it would be great if you could just show us how you can use Rancher in combination with the Kubernetes stuff for those people that might be using that already in their deployments.
Yeah, Rancher is something we can spin up here, and yeah, there is an add-on. Yeah, it's here. As simple as that. You just click the button, and then it should provide a pop-up with the details. So all the pop-ups will be like that. So once you have your platform installed, you will have pop-up with token with credentials to the dashboard. Once your Grafana or Prometheus was installed, you will have the same. And with Rancher platform, it's more or less the same. So we need to wait a while. Oh, here is. That is GitLab. That's Kubernetes. Sorry.
As far as I see, it's still in progress. So all these options are your previous installations, Igor.
Yeah.
Well, if you're waiting for the Rancher to finish deploying, maybe it would be good just to show a little bit on the Docker engine, because you didn't go into that so much detail, and that's more like an intermediate environment. So maybe it's worth showing some of the functionality of that for people as well.
Yeah, of course. Version. Yes, so Docker engine is running usually inside the embedded environment in the same way as Kubernetes nodes are running. You can also expose ports. You can also attach volumes. So the difference from the classical Docker engine, which you can run from anywhere else, is that it's also running in system container. And system container brings this happy feature like pay-per-use. So first thing, you don't pay for resources you are not using. The second thing, you can, for example, you can use your resources for something else. For example, if it's more extended private installation. So for all the benefits of, and you can also change resources on flight. So you know that all the VM, not all the VM, but VMs has like a feature called ballooning, and that ballooning allows allows also to play with memory and share memory, same memory between multiple VM instances. But in fact, that technology doesn't work quite well. But with containers, there are no such an issue. So in container with also Docker Swarm engine, you can scale in and scale out your node different size. So you can scale in, scale out, and you don't need to reboot to restart any service. So that can happen on fly. And one is provisioning. I also will show you, for example, simple topology with certified stacks. So Java Tomcat. For example, we need 3 instances of Tomcat. Although Vision is what it is now. We can add database server, caching node, MongoDB build node with Maven and all the. By the way, Maven is also integrated to this auth system. Once you have your Maven node installed, it's easy to do the deployment to your cluster and other components. So it seems Docker engine is installed. So yeah.
Yeah, Ranch is also ready.
Mm-hmm. And you can jump just directly inside a container. You can say Docker PS. So Docker run, let's say Ubuntu. And that's it. It was a typo. Very similar and classical way to start the image. So that's it. And if you install Docker Swarm cluster, you can, oops. That's exited because I did not specify the command, but anyway, so. So it's done.
Yeah, I saw on the deployment of the Docker Swarm that you could connect it to an existing environment. So you could connect that environment into a Swarm then. Yeah,
but Swarm again is something in the middle between Docker engine simple and Kubernetes. So for those who want to run simple container, they use Docker engine. For those who want to have advanced service management, they are using Swarm. And those who are really need super mega huge platform for running microservices, they're using Kubernetes. So it all depends on the requirement. So as you can see, server with GitLab, it was also spun up. So with a few button clicks, we have ready to work instance. That's from what I was installed from the installation menu, so we have access to the same admin Grafana. That's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And you also have Helm. So for example, if you need to install something very specific with Helm, so the statistic is not gathered yet, we need a bit time. So Helm, if as I said, there is an option to expose kubectl exec, kubectl connection to API, but there is also option to jump directly inside master node, and the kubectl is installed from here. Basically, there are also other tools installed on master node that allows to do this to do the cluster configuration within the browser. So let's say, so you don't have to install anything extra. But if you like, you can install it to your local host. Again, Lens is a very nice tool to manage Kubernetes, and Helm is a packet manager. So that stands for simple. For simple installation of applications. Oops. As you can see, so there are some things that were deployed with Helm, and they can be seen from here. So the cluster management is also possible from here. That's Jaeger. Dashboard. Just switching for my Registry. Yeah, and here is a Docker Swarm command to join, for example, if you need to create clusters with multiple regions. By the way, CloudSigma platform is now container platform is now running on in data centers in Geneva and Zurich, but we expect also soon to be available in other places. So it will be possible to connect your huge Kubernetes installations into a single cluster from multiple locations. So that option is coming soon.
It's
as
also,
well.
Just to say, it's also available in Frankfurt already. So Frankfurt is live now with the PaaS as well. Did you show the rancher functionality? Unless I missed it.
No. Yeah, for some reason I don't see the.
It was in the pop-up. Right now we have a pop-up about environment that has been successfully created. So maybe you just need to close this pop-up, and you will see. Yeah, here it is. So here you need to set up the credentials.
Sorry, I have this Zoom windows in front of me, so I can see. Yeah. Yes, I agree. So it's also done.
And for those that are not familiar, can you explain a little bit just about Rancher for people?
It's a kind of platform that allows to spin up software from already pre-configured marketplace. So the kind of automation on top of Kubernetes. And this automation makes magic very similar to the one I showed that can be done just natively in our platform. For example, for MySQL, if you need to spin up cluster with master replication, but just in system containers in a way like that. So things like Rancher allows to do same magic on top of Kubernetes. So the approach is very similar, but it's a kind of intermediate platform which stands between your application and Kubernetes. So that intermediate platform allows also to manage different things around. So it's all depends, on your needs and on the technology. On analytical, you have, if you have developers who are familiar with Rancher, they can do Rancher. If guys are familiar with classical master, for example, slave replication, they know the database, they can do it that way. So it all depends on the way how you want to reach your goals, but in the end, you will still have your application in the cloud. So you just choose the way how you want to achieve that.
Yeah, I know we have some existing customers using Rancher that were asking about it. That's why I wanted to cover it so they can see the availability. I had another question. The customer's not here today, but they were asking what kind of migration option. So if I was already running Docker or or Kubernetes cluster, kind of what methods are there or options are there for me to kind of move this into the PaaS environment? Just to understand what routes are available to me.
So if I have already VM and I want to migrate the stuff from VM to classical container, the simplest way is to run a tool. We have a tool that allows to pack file system of container and push it to Docker registry. And once your file system of your VM is in Docker registry, you can use this option to install, to unpack your, let's say, file system from custom image, from your custom image to container directly. So that kind of migration via registry, option number one. If that is migration if it's migration between Docker, it's really simple and straightforward. You just take your Docker, you can rebuild everything from Docker file using, for example, the same GitLab pipelines, or you can just run it directly with Compose. So we have an option to run the Compose file. So the migration will only be different just because of data. So if you have volumes, you need to transfer only data from volumes from one place to another place. Everything else can be spun up with Docker Compose manifest. And if that is Kubernetes, the situation is more or less similar. So in case of Kubernetes, you have, let's see, for example, production cluster. So you have master node that are running just infrastructure. So we are not interested into their migration. We have worker nodes that are running containers, personal file system, and we are not interested in that as well. So we have storage. In case of this setup, this storage is clusterized. So it's running GlusterFS on the bottom, and that data is exported via NFS and connected via AutoFS on the side of clients. So that 3 storage nodes are all the available, the workers, the volumes on that storage nodes are synced, replicated, and available on all the worker nodes. All we need is to do the export of manifest. So usually it works like this. You go to master node of your existing installation. You run something like Kubernetes, kubectl, get all namespaces, it seems. And there was also an option like export, but it's deprecated. You can minus output format YAML, and you will get a huge XML file. And that huge XML file need to be transferred to new environment. It need to be just applied. So once you got this XML file, you can just import it in your another Kubernetes. How much lines? It's like 20,386 lines. That's what you need to transfer everything from one Kubernetes A to Kubernetes B. Once you have this cluster installed, exported, cluster XML exported, you just run kubectl, apply -f, and this XML file. In that will import all the stuff.
I just wanted to say also that, sorry to interrupt you, I just wanted to say that our support teams can also help customers with this, right? We can't do everything for you end to end, but basically we're there to support the customer so that if they're stuck or they're not sure based on their deployment what's going to be the best method, we can help advise them in terms of getting their stuff up and running in the platform.
Yeah, and what you have to still to do manually, you need to namespaces. You need to migrate data from your like volumes to your new volumes. And data migration in that case is all straightforward. So this interface, this storage interface has NFS, has basically it has UI. So you can do simple import of files just via UI, but in case if there are many things to be migrated, you can do SSH, SFTP, or or just simple FTP. But FTP add-on is not something that I recommend to use. Yeah.
On this, I can actually say as well, we've actually had customers that wanted NFS storage volume for their IaaS platform, for their virtual machines, because they wanted a shared file system or whatever. And we've actually tested using the NFS volumes in the PaaS layer with the virtual machines in the IaaS layer, and it works fine. So the performance is actually quite good. So it's also possible to expose the NFS volumes in the PaaS layer through to the virtual machines as NFS or whatever, directly in the IaaS layer. So you could essentially move the data directly onto an NFS volume, and then that NFS volume is then available for the Kubernetes cluster or whatever. You can even use the NFS volume just because you want an NFS volume, and you're not even migrating anything. You simply want the convenience of a shared file system, a file system-based storage rather than block storage, which is what you have with the virtual machines. So we have customers wanting file storage using NFS volumes in the PaaS layer in conjunction with their virtual machines, in addition to the regular block storage.
Yeah, and what else I can do? I can do add my public key to the node, and then I can access it via SSH or SFTP. So that's also as simple as that. So if you have FileZilla or Midnight Commander, or just you want to do some SCPs, so then you can use SFTP to transfer all your previous data to this volume, and that's it. So basically, yeah, two main things: huge list of metadata and the data itself from the previous installation, and Kubernetes. Ingress rules. Yeah, one more thing I forgot to say. So once you have your application migrated from any other provider, I bet everyone has his own ingress and load balancer. So if you can check kubectl get ing, get ingresses, you will be able to see all the rules that are managing the incoming traffic and directed to your services. And perhaps some small teeny things need to be adjusted. So you will still have all these ingress rules in your file that you previously exported, but I believe that might be required to be tweaked a bit. So maybe some annotations to be added, or for example, if that is migration from Nginx ingress to Nginx ingress, that should be more or less fine, except the cases if it was any third-party tool was used for incoming traffic, and then the migration need to be tweaked. Right. But anyways, so there's that support team can assist in that case and help.
I'm conscious we only have a couple of minutes left before the top of the hour. If anyone has any final questions, please do put them through. That would be great. Thanks for going through the migration. That's really helpful. I love the idea that you can just take one of our existing virtual machines and convert it, Dockerize it basically, and then import it directly into the PaaS. So that's a really easy way to take a static virtual machine that you already have in our platform, and if for whatever reason you want to embed it into the PaaS platform, you can simply convert it in this way, and then you'll get the benefit of the auto scaling and the other sort of magic that you've seen today. So that's great. Thanks, Ihor. I'm just going to share my screen because I want to explain about the next webinar we have next week. Yes, so we have two upcoming webinars. Patrick's going to paste the link in the chat for you guys as well. The next session is going to be on microservices for a DevOps environment. Essentially, in English, what that converts to is we're going to go through that environment configuration tool that you saw, the certified containers that Ihor showed you, but he kind of skipped over it. And the reason was because we're going to have a deep dive into that functionality next week. So we'll go through in much more detail the specific certified containers, the different aspects like the load balancing, the databases, the volumes, all the kind of options that are available. So you can really get you can really kind of traverse the tree of options that you have there, which is quite extensive. So that's a really good one. Also, we'll be showing you the kind of the management aspects of that in terms of continuous integration GitLab and things like this. So all of that will be covered next week in more detail. This was more specifically on the container like environments, if you're already running Kubernetes or Docker Swarm. So please feel free to join us next week. It will be the same time on a Thursday. And that's the microservices DevOps environment. And then finally, we also have on the 15th of July, in 2 weeks' time today, we have the session where we're going to look at some of the marketplace tools. We didn't show that today, but there's sort of one-click tools that are available, and we'll go through some of those in detail because some of them are really, really useful time savers that can help you do anything from, introducing a test environment, so you can kind of put part of the traffic load onto the test environment to make sure it's working properly, and then transition that into production with a traffic balancer and many other tools like OwnCloud, and you actually saw a couple of them today. So that's going to be very detailed look at the marketplace on the 15th. So I hope you guys found it useful, and ladies. I'm just going to have an exit poll here. I'm going to show just to kind of see who's interested in testing, if you're not already using it, or if you are already using it, say yes. So we can interested to see like how many people are looking to kind of engage in the platform. And also to say thank you for everybody for joining. Thanks for Ihor and Tatiana as well from Jelastic to joining and supporting us today. I hope you found it useful. We will be sending out a recording. We'll clip the beginning and the end, so it will only have the content for the webinar. And we'll send that out in a few days. So you'll also have that recording you can refer back to if there's something that you heard and you want to and you go back and remember exactly how to do that. And then also, of course, we do have a 24/7 support team. The live chat button is there on the bottom left of the web app. Feel free to use it. They're very responsive. Usually response time is less than 10-15 seconds. So we'd be more than happy to hear from you. If there's anything that you need or want help with, please don't hesitate to contact us. And thanks for your time today. I hope you found it useful. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day ahead.
Everybody.